Thank you very much for that. I want to address a little bit about this whole thing called recognition. There's a lot of non-Aboriginal people that, when it does come about, will vote for recognition. Now, we do have our own people who have recognition campaigns, but let me tell you, I get all over the place. Most Aboriginal people are against recognition. Once we're in that racist constitution, our sovereign rights are gone. That will be a legal certainty. But let's leave the legal argument for a moment, because there will be some other lawyer who will get up and say, no, that's not true. It will depend on the wording. But I'm telling you, this government will not allow a recognition thing to go into the Constitution unless it forgoes our rights. And how can we trust snakes like the LNP? Now, I shouldn't say snakes because I actually like snakes. These people are non-human. They're from somewhere else. Now, the moral side of it is, why are we putting the horse before the cart? Why are we talking about recognition when we are facing now today, the tally has gone up to 400 communities are going to be closed down. That's 250 in Western Australia, 150 in South Australia. This has got to take a national priority. I know there are other issues, but the people who are planning this know very well, once you move those people, deaths will occur. As sure as night follows day, deaths will occur. They don't care. The second they wiped off $500 million from Aboriginal affairs, they knew that deaths would occur. They went ahead with it. It took the Labor Party 1 month to respond, and they responded by a one-page statement and then walked off the air. I'm very disappointed in the opposition to Abbott in regards to First Nations people in this country. I'm very disappointed. There's been little voice. We have no friends in politics, I'm telling you that now. We have no friends. I know the Greens are doing their bit in the Senate. I know on paper and in rhetoric they're doing their bit, but from our point of view, it's not enough. We have Sarah Hanson-Young, and I love what she does, and don't get me wrong, what is happening to asylum seekers is disgusting, abhorrent, and should not be tolerated by any human being on the planet. And any government who perpetrates this sort of human rights abuse should hang their head in shame. But we do have a political ally there who gets into down the barrel of the cameras of 7, 9 and 10 and tells the public what is happening with these human rights abuses. That's Sarah Hanson-Young. She does a brilliant job. My question, and if the Greens do want to present themselves as a different party to Aboriginal people, towards Aboriginal people, we need a Sarah Hanson-Young to talk about the human rights abuses that are happening on a daily occurrence in this country, in every Aboriginal community in this country. I have permission to talk about the Baralula community, which is in the West Cape area, and they have a sulphur mine that is leaking into their river, the MacArthur River. It's toxic. Fires break out on the water. People have spontaneous nosebleeds, respiratory trouble. They're dying, and the mining companies are surrounding them. The general public does not know this. The general public does not know that since the intervention we've had a 500% increase in the suicide rate of Aboriginal peoples. The general public does not know that nearly every community, when interviewed in Central Australia, have said they are severely depressed. The general community does not know that children as young as 8 are committing suicide. The general community does not know that 1 month ago a boy of 5 died from sniffing substances. The general public does not know why. The media is not telling them, but nor are our politicians. Abbott won't tell you. We know what Abbott is. Abbott is a gutless coward. Abbott is a gutless coward who speaks for Twiggy Forrest and speaks for Gina Reinhardt. This is why these people have been moved off their land and face certain death. is because they want a minor. He is speaking on their behalf, so we know what he is. Everybody here knows what he is. He's a gutless coward picking on the most vulnerable in this country. And we need to make this a national emergency, and we need every politician that can get a camera before them to stare down that barrel of the camera and not go for a soundbite on a nice little media occasion, but give it to them as Sarah Hanson-Young gives it to them about asylum seekers. I admire that woman, I admire what she does, but I think it's time the First Nations people receive the same respect and the same passion as other groups. You cannot stand up for the rights of one group being oppressed, tortured, and having human rights abuses perpetrated against them and ignore the rest. Now, it's fine to get up in Parliament and say it, it's fine to make statements in newspapers and have statements on paper, but I want to see these statements into the barrel of the camera to inform you, the general public, what is happening around this country. If I get into the barrel of the camera, nobody's going to listen to me. Just another mad blackfellow. We have people in positions of power here who can do it. Let's see them do it. Now, as Sister Girl said over here so rightly, we have had many years in money cut from Aboriginal health year after year after year. We haven't got one Aboriginal old people's home in this country. We have not got one. What is wrong with this country? Some of our old people will not go to a non-Aboriginal housing, or home, an old people's home. They won't go there, a retirement village, because of what they've experienced growing up. They've experienced racism. They're not going to put their lives in the hands of people who represent the racist group that have given it to them. So our older people are dying. And we have not got one nursing home for them in this country. Don't you find that unusual? Don't you find that in the last 10 years of apartheid in South Africa, that we now have beaten the incarceration rate of the last 10 years? Don't you find this disgraceful? Don't you find that in recent years we have overtaken the incarceration of African Americans? Don't you find that we have one of the most highest infant mortality rates in the world? Don't you find it disgusting that we have one of the highest deaths in custody in the world? And I heard talk about there may be a Royal Commission in 20 years' time. Let me tell you my experience of Royal Commissions. I helped fight for the Royal Commission into black deaths in custody. And over 100 deaths, not one person was charged with any wrongdoing towards the death of an Aboriginal person. Over 400 recommendations, or 300 and something recommendations, a small handful implemented. The woman who died in custody on fines, her naked body was left for all to view outside the hospital in the prison she was being kept in. So this is just not murder. This is degradation of the dead. A woman in Geraldton in recent weeks was found dead, hanged by a tree, last seen being picked up by the police. She was found with her hands bound behind her back and her Achilles tendons slashed. It was called suicide. Now come on Australia, we can do better than this. We can do a lot better than this. Now I've been around, but this is my 63rd year. I fought against Ibiaki Peterson. I'm starting to think Tony Abbott is his bastard son. I'm starting to think he's his love child. We have got to get rid of this prick, and you can start getting rid of this prick, sorry you kids, but you can start getting rid of him by getting rid of Baird in the next election. I've become completely disillusioned. I always voted Greens, but I've stopped voting. I'm waiting for somebody to take me to court because I've got to give the courts a reason why I stopped voting. Why would I vote when I haven't got a voice? I'm going to finish with a poem that was written some years ago. It's the first poem in the book I just published. It's not available yet, only online, if you go to Vagabond Press. Or I've got a few in my bag for those who like poetry. The book is called Yimbama, and it's by Vagabond Press. And I wrote this for all the rednecks in the country, but it very well suits Tony Abbott, and as that sign says down there, the shady bunch. Hold it up, please, sir. Hold that up. The shady bunch. This is dedicated to you, Mob. It's called Name Game. You call me racist names. You call me not quite right. You call me the lawbreaker. You call me a social disturbance. You call me a low form of life. You call me a man of violence. You call me a threat to you. You call and call and call me every disgusting insult your tongue can carry, but you can never call me yours. Thank you. We have never ceded our land and we never will. This is Aboriginal land, it always will be Aboriginal land. We're all walking on sacred land, and Tony Abbott, you should start respecting